Hello, everybody. I'm Pam Langley with the U.S. Department of Labor Veterans Employment and Training Service, and I'd like to welcome you to the afternoon session of the Military Spouse Association Career Expo. It is wonderful to be here with you, and we're excited to provide this opportunity to talk about our agencies and tell you a little bit about what goes on in our different agencies. So I'll start out with vets. Next slide, please. So during our presentation today, of course, I provided you the welcome, but just a little background on me. I've been with Veterans Employment and Training Service, we call it VETS, since 1995 after I transitioned from the active duty Navy. I've loved my time at VETS. I've served in field positions and in the national office, and I started as a GS5. So I'm very excited about all the opportunities that VETS provided to me and that I hopefully can impart on you the excitement about working at VETS. Then we'll talk about the mission and the vision, kind of how our agency is structured with field staff and national staff, the type of positions that we have, some of our current openings, and of course, based on the positions, you'll see what kind of future needs we might have. And then of course, we'll have some time for Q&A and wrap up. Next slide, please. So as I said, we're vets. And normally I don't read a slide, but I think our vision and mission warrants a word-for-word translation. It's very important to us, our clients, and what we do. So our vision is enabling veterans, transitioning service members, military spouses to reach their full potential in the workplace. And we do that through what we call the 4 Ps. We provide clients with information about how to access meaningful careers. We prepare them for those careers. We protect their employment rights, and we promote their employment opportunities. Next slide, please. So what we do and how we do it is through those 4 Ps. So in the prepare section, we kind of prepare through our curriculum that's provided as part of the Transition Assistance Program. This is provided to transitioning service members and their spouses, and it can be up to 2 years prior to their retirement or separation from the military. We have a one-day employment fundamentals workshop, and we have 2 different 2-day workshops that are accessible to anybody who would like them in the e-learning format. But we also provide classroom instruction, and we provide facilitated virtual LEDs, such as this medium type of instruction. And those are all kind of prior to the DD 214 time. And then we provide assistance through our grant programs. And we have 2 major grant programs. We have our Jobs for Veterans state grant programs. This provides funding to positions that are at the American Job Centers in all of the states. And these are there. Those positions, those staff that are hired are veterans themselves, and they provide assistance to veterans who are seeking employment opportunities and who potentially have a disability or have some kind of issue that they're trying to overcome. And then we also have our Homeless Veterans Reintegration Program. That right there explains it all in the title. It's directed to assisting our homeless veterans to come off of being homeless and get a job, and therefore have the ability to provide for themselves in the way of food, housing, and all those other things to become a member, well-functioning member of society. We protect, that third P is through our compliance programs, which is the Uniform Services Employment and Reemployment Rights Act. And this protects National Guard and service members to being called up for active duty. And also it covers veterans from being discriminated against in the workplace due to their military service, or they're looking into becoming a service member in the military. And then veterans preference investigations, of course, are to cover individuals to make sure that the federal government is following its veterans preference hiring ability. And then, of course, we promote all of these through outreach and our Hire Vets Medallion program. Our Hire Vets Medallion is the only federal award that's provided for employers for promoting veterans within the workplace. So we're really very passionate about these 4 primary P's, as we call them, in completing our mission. Next slide, please. So just to give you an idea, you know, the Federal Employee Viewpoint Survey, it's a survey done every year. Any federal employee can take part in that survey. And what they do is they identify different things that their agency does or doesn't do in some cases in the realm of supporting their employees. And so we're pretty proud of our top 10 scores. Vets is a very welcoming place. Many of our employees are veterans. The super majority are veterans or spouses or somehow connected to the military. But we're very proud of these top 10, and it's a great place to work. I can say that from, you know, my position of having been here a lot. I might be a little biased though. Next slide, please. So our agency structure. We're different from other agencies, but very similar to other agencies within the Department of Labor. We kind of have a spoken wheel kind of structure. So we have a headquarters, which is in Washington, D.C., and then we have 6 regional offices: San Francisco, Dallas, Chicago, Atlanta, Philadelphia, and Boston. And all of the states fall under one of those 6 regional offices. So in those regional offices, we have a regional administrator position and a deputy regional administrator position and support staff that are located in that hub. And then each state has a director for veterans employment and training. And some states have staff, most states have some staff, and then there are a handful of states that only have that director for vets position just due to their size of the veteran population within that state. And as you can see by this, the map of the United States, we have a DVET position in Alaska. We also have a DVET and an assistant director in Hawaii, and Guam falls under that Hawaii responsibility. We have the Virgin Islands, which falls under the Atlanta region. And then we also have Puerto Rico, where we do have a DVET in Puerto Rico. So we kind of cover the United States. In our headquarters in DC, we have some divisions that support. So we have a director of field operations, and of course that position oversees all of the field staff. And then we have a director of national programs, and that position oversees all of the different offices within the national program office. And then we have an office of agency management and budget like most Department of Labor agencies. So we have a variety of positions and opportunities, a total of about 250 to 275 employees located throughout the United States. Many of our positions are telework. Well, every one of them are telework eligible, and many of them are remote work, meaning you don't necessarily have to live in that particular state to hold those positions, or such as in our headquarters office, you don't necessarily have to live in the DC area. Next slide, please. So these are the type of positions we have. As I said, we have that compliance arm, which is under our 4th P of protect our clients. So we have regional investigators. They investigate those complaints under USERRA and Veterans Preference. And then we also have our state directors and assistant director positions. And those are the 0300 series, which are administrative type positions. We have a lot of different analyst positions, including grants analyst, management analyst, program analysts. We have some workforce development positions that we're currently working to advertise. We have some tentative technical writing and editing positions because we do create a lot of curricula. And then we have some communications positions, which are in our Office of Strategic Operations, which is located primarily in the DC office. Next slide, please. So we currently have 2 whole positions announced, which is a little unusual. Now, this slide has 2 positions that appear different, but they're the same position. One is just an open competitive announcement, and the other is a career position. So, which means you have to have some type of status. So I believe everybody's had the opportunity to attend a session on how to use USA Jobs for your federal opportunities. And if you haven't, please go to fedshirevets.gov. Sounds exactly like I said it. And I can put it in the chat at the end of this discussion, but that provides resources to that talks about not only veterans preference and spouse hiring flexibilities, but also it shows you how to use USA Jobs to filter and distinguish, the different types of positions you might be interested in. And also it tells you how to filter what jobs you see. You can create a profile, you can have your applications completed. Your resumes completed. I believe you can have up to 5 resumes in USA Jobs. And really, as with any other job, you want to target your resume to the job opening. So, like I said, if you haven't had an opportunity to see that, to see how to use USA Jobs, please visit Feds Hire Vets. Otherwise, we have 2 positions currently advertised. One is a program analyst, and the other is an investigator position. These one's a GS-13, GS-14. The other is a GS-14, this program analyst. And like I said, we have such a variety of opportunities. We're a small agency, but man, we pack a lot of punch in what we do, and we're very passionate about it. And I mean, we're passionate from the bottom positions to the top positions. But what I like to say is we all work together to ensure that we're providing the kind of service that we want our clients to receive. And that's the highest level of service possible. Next slide, please. So, as I was saying, just some general things to know about applying to federal openings. like I said, USA Jobs, you can create that profile. You can upload all of your military spouse documentation, which you want to make sure you submit when you do make your applications. Like I said, your resume should be tailored to that position, to each position separately, because it makes a difference to the subject matter experts that review your applications. And again, a government resume is not like a corporate resume, other than you do want to tailor it. You want to complete the assessment. Most openings have an assessment piece, and it's just a questionnaire. And don't sell yourself short in that questionnaire. You do have to make sure that your resume supports anything that you say on that questionnaire, because the subject matter expert who is reviewing those will check that, but don't sell yourself short. Make sure that you are taking credit for all the experience that you have based on the question that's being asked. Don't second guess yourself. And don't wait till the last minute, because just like every other electronic opportunity, things happen. And if you can't access and upload your materials in the time allotted, you lose the opportunity. And there's nothing that can be done about it. So we want to make sure that you know those things. And I think next slide, please. I think it's my last slide. So this is all my contact information. If you're interested in contacting me. And now I'd like to open up the floor for any questions there might be. Let me check the chat. Hi, Sabrina. So it looks like you're looking for research on military spouse employment. It doesn't really say if that's specific, but I believe there is some research through the DOL website, Department of Labor. We have a military spouse webpage. And then there are lots of statistics and data on that webpage. I will get that into the chat once we're kind of finished with this at the end of this presentation. I'm not sure whether, Sabrina, you raised your hand first, or Jennifer, but I'm going to go with Sabrina since you had that chat question. So,
hey, thank you for taking that. I really appreciate that. And thank you so much for taking out the time today and help us all out here to get some more information internally. It's very hard to usually get your hands on that. Reading in between the lines. So I am very interested in what the Department of Labor does. And I specifically actually attended the meeting today in intent to get some more research data.
Okay.
Regarding the spouse employment, but also for non-U.S. citizen military spouses, as well as military spouses that are overseas. They encounter the same issue in a sense because they don't speak the language, maybe off base, or primarily U.S. citizen jobs that are usually in rotation filled because everybody is there, right? So what I wanted to ask is, you mentioned the research. The only one I found on spousal employment for military spouses statistic was from 2016, which is pretty far ways to go, unfortunately.
Right, and I know, I agree. That's older than we like to use data, right?
I understand, yes.
Statistics, though, that are available on our website. I'm going to try to find them really quickly while we're all here. But, there is, because of COVID, we did have kind of a stretch there where we weren't able to do studies, and other, independent organizations didn't have the ability to do studies because things were shut down. So
Yes.
we'll see a big gap.
Yes.
I think, as we move forward, more statistics are coming online.
Absolutely. And I think so too. COVID was an external threat to all of us.
Yes.
Absolutely. But what I'm interested on, I actually tried to create a proposal for the My Expo page, which is also a tool for military spouses to find jobs. And I'm trying to propose to them, why not have businesses around of base offering to post their jobs on there to support the military spouse that may not be eligible to obtain a security clearance, or may somebody off base looks in Germany to be like, hey, I want an English speaker spouse to get employment, but off base. So is there any contact I could email and communicate with to maybe brainstorm a little bit about that and so forth? Because I feel like it's very far reached to create a connection.
Well, overseas is very difficult because, there are a lot of status of forces requirements, right?
Yes.
SOS requirements, and those vary by every single country. They are all different. So, I really can't help in that respect. I mean, I just don't have any information on different SOF agreements and what they impact. I know
absolutely.
Contractors, like we contract out our facilitation for our TAP classes. We hire spouses overseas all the time for that.
Yes.
Definitely. But we don't hire them. Our contractor hires them.
Yes. I understand that.
But in the United States, the American Job Centers, which you can access at careeronestop.org.
Yes.
They have openings for nationwide, all of the types of openings. In addition, the National Labor Exchange, which is overseen by the National Association of State Workforce Agencies, and basically that's a group that oversees all of the state workforce agencies. They also have a National Labor Exchange. You can Google it, and it separates jobs by location, by remote, by part-time. I mean, you can filter it a lot of different ways. So I would direct you to those two agencies. And then I will put this military spouse page that we have in the chat so that
wonderful.
Hopefully everybody can see it. And there you go. Oh, there you go. Gary, thank you, Gary. Gary had my back, man. Thank you.
He did. He did.
careeronestop.org in there, and then our military spouse page. And that has all of the information that we have and it's current as possible.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank
wonderful.
you very much, Sabrina.
Thank you for taking the time.
Certainly. Let me go to Jennifer while I get a chance, and then I want to take some of the chat requests. Go ahead, Jennifer. Hi.
Hi, Pam. Thank you. And I'm sorry if you covered this and I missed it. I was in a different room and decided to pop over this one. But my question is this. There are a lot of spouses like myself who are also veterans. Mm-hmm. Is there a benefit? Is there more of a benefit to just focus on being the veteran, or is it better to list all of the things? How does that work? Because I'm sure there's lots of us.
Right. Well, that's a great question. I do have to say, the best thing is for you to highlight your experience, no matter where you got it, and tailor that to the job opening that you're trying to apply for. And that's, civilian, federal, contractor, whatever job. It really doesn't matter whether you focus on having been a veteran or whether you focus on having been a military spouse, right? Because you still gained experience in both of those that translate to all types of employers. So highlight those things based on that job that you want. And there's nothing wrong with saying both. I was a veteran. I served in wherever for however long. And I also am currently, or I was a military spouse. Or, you know, we have a lot of dual couples, right? We have a lot of dual veterans, you know, who served throughout the military together and then also are seeking employment after they've separated. So that's a great question, Jennifer.
I'm sorry, I appreciate that information. That's great. I really was focused more on the spouse preference stuff. With the hiring authorities, is it, can they be used in conjunction? Do you have to pick one or the other? If that's the case, is it better to pick one or the other? Sorry, I wasn't very clear.
You're right. My understanding is the way OPM I recommends you do is apply under both preferences. Because you can use the same resume if you're tailoring it to that job. So one, you apply as a veteran, and the other, you apply as a military spouse. And it doesn't, it's no more work other than you do have to, you know, go through 2 applications, but the answers are going to be the same because you're still you, right? So yes, apply under every option that they identify they are seeking candidates for that opening. Thank you, Jennifer. Let's see, let me try to check some of the chat. Okay, so Angel Johnson asked, do you ever take agency transfers? You're a current federal employee working with TAP for DOD. That is another great question. Angel, we do. But that is really a position by position endeavor. If you email me or provide your email, but you have my email contact, I can get you in contact with the person that might be able to assist with that, you know, who you would begin outside agency transfers with. I'm not sure who that person is, but I certainly, Angel, I certainly will try to find you that point of contact. Next. There's a question from Danae about following up on an MSHA position. I'm not sure whether MSHA is presenting today or not, but if they are, I would ask them. But every job opening has a point of contact on it. When you applied on USA Jobs, there was a point of contact. It's usually a phone number and an email address. I would use that to contact the agency. In addition, if you have your USA Jobs profile and you applied through that profile, you can track. It gives you updates on the status of that application. So it will tell you when, you know, the application is being reviewed by the agency, or it's been accepted and it's being at the next part of the process. But let me tell you, applying for federal government is not for the faint of heart, because, you know, when they talk about it takes a village, it really takes a couple of villages, because the federal hiring process is long. Even when you have the authority to hire, you know, soonest, it takes 3 to 6 months easy. And sometimes it can take longer. Now, some agencies have cut that down. But really 3 months is not unusual from application closing to job offer selection. But that is a great question. Thank you, Danae. All right, you're welcome, everybody. Are there any other questions that I might be able to assist with? Y'all are letting me off here easy, but I'll take it. It's a Wednesday, but I'll take it. Certainly, I'm glad I could be helpful. Everybody, thank you very much. Again, you have my point of contact information. Please feel free to reach out to me. I respond to every email. It's, whew, sometimes it takes me a day or two, but I really try to respond to everybody because I know how important it is when you're looking for a job. And I appreciate the opportunity. I guess, Monica, I'll hand it back to you and we'll start moving forward to the next presentation. So thank you again, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ms. Pamela. Really appreciate it. And thank you for the participants who joined this particular session. We'll get started again for those who are staying at in about 15 minutes, about 14 more minutes.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for the Bureau of Labor Statistics presentation. My name is Ali Mahuda, and I'm a program analyst here at BLS. I started working at BLS right around the beginning of the pandemic, so I've been here for a little over 2 years, almost 2.5. I'm also co-presenting today with my supervisor, Kimberly Brummett, and we will take turns speaking to you all this afternoon, and we're both really excited to talk with you all about the work of BLS and the types of careers we have here. Next slide. So this is a little bit about our agenda for this afternoon. We'll first talk kind of generally about, what is the Bureau of Labor Statistics? Who are we as an agency, and what are our values? And then we'll dive into the different career paths we have here at BLS and talk a little bit about what, a day in the life of those positions look like. We'll also talk a little bit about the types of skills and qualities we look for in a candidate. And we will close out with discussing in brief the best way to look for our vacancies and how to apply. And we'll also take some questions at the end. So let's dive in. Next slide, please. So BLS is the principal fact-finding agency for the federal government in the broad field of labor economics and statistics. Next slide. And we believe America needs the best economic data possible to make the best economic decisions. So that's really what drives our work. Next slide. So we support this belief by calculating world-renowned statistics. And so here are some clips of some examples that you all might have seen probably throughout the media. And this is all related to the work of BLS. Next slide. So here are a few examples of our programs and products that some of you may have heard before, and these all influence daily American life. So some of the more well-known ones might include unemployment rates. Of course, we hear a lot about this recently in the news. So BLS measures unemployment, and we examine the overall employment situation in the United States, and we produce these figures monthly. We also produce the Consumer Price Index, and that's used to adjust Social Security payments and other federal income tax brackets. We have the Employment Cost Index, which informs Medicare reimbursements, which is very important. And overall, employment and productivity data are used by policymakers to track the state of the economy and to drive policy changes. Next slide. And so we live out our values and principles through our work every day. And so although we are a part of the executive branch, we conduct our work with independence to ensure that data and our analyses are objective and free from partisan influence. We have diverse customers, including academic institutions, the media, other government agencies, private companies, private citizens, and we work hard to meet their needs and ensure that our data are accurate, objective, relevant, timely, and accessible. We take data confidentiality very seriously. Our data providers share sensitive data with us, and we take great steps to ensure our reporting and communication systems and databases are very secure. And as changes occur in the economy, we keep pace so as to provide accurate, relevant, and timely data. And as employees, we are very supported. Just last year, BLS was voted as being in the top 12% of the best places to work in the federal government. And we also pride ourselves in being good stewards of taxpayers' money. Next slide. So in terms of our occupations nationwide, the majority of our staff are economists and economic assistants, but we do have many other categories of career fields like IT specialists, statisticians, mathematical statisticians, and management analysts. Occupations in the other category, they're at the bottom. That includes a variety of other careers like accountants, budget analysts, program analysts like me and Kimberly, contract specialists, secretaries, technical writers, editors, and other visual information specialists. Next slide, please. And so looking at the distribution of our employees, approximately 60% work for the national office, which is located in the Washington, D.C. area, and approximately 40% work out in the regional offices located in these cities and their surrounding areas, including Atlanta, the Boston, New York region, Chicago, the Dallas, Kansas City area, Philadelphia region, and the San Francisco Bay Area. And Kimberly and I both work out of the DC national office. Next slide, please.
Okay, and this is Kimberly Bromett, Allie's colleague. We'll talk a little bit about why BLS is such a great place to work. So BLS has a number of reasons why we all enjoy working there, and I'm going to talk about a few of them. One of them is our flexible work plans. We do have at BLS for most positions very flexible work plans where you can organize your days and your work schedule for optimum productivity, but also for great work-life balance. For example, we have at DOL, we have a work band where you can start as early as 6 a.m. and work as late as 8 p.m. as long as you are doing your 8 hours per day. Additionally, we have a very robust telework and remote work program. So while Allie and I are working for the national office, we currently are both teleworking today from our homes. And we do have a remote program where staff who work for the national office are also scattered about the country. In our regional offices, they do also have telework and remote work programs, although there are some positions that are unable to do so due to their responsibilities to collect data in the field. Another great thing about working at BLS is our teams and our collaboration. We believe in a team approach at BLS, and although you have individual work, you'll also work on teams or 2 or 3. We form small and large teams across the offices to innovate, to improve processes and products, and to really just bring out the best products for the Bureau. It is highly encouraged. We use technology such as Microsoft Teams and others to really collaborate across offices. BLS also has many learning opportunities. Next slide, please. Learning opportunities based on availability of funds. BLS also has many learning opportunities such as on-the-job training. We also, where funds are available, pay for graduate school. We have BLS sponsored classes where we bring a vendor in and teach large classes to our staff. And you can participate in professional conferences related to your job area, receive certifications, and even get career development counseling in-house. Next slide, please. BLS, we also take career paths and promotion opportunities seriously. We believe in developing our own team from within. And in most of our entry-level positions, we have a very clear advancement path. So if you apply for an entry-level position at the GS7 or GS9 level, after a year of successful performance, you'll be eligible to advance to the next grade. Most of our career ladders start at either the 7 or 9 level and advance up through the 12. For positions above the GS12, we have competitive hiring, and you can apply for those positions on a competitive basis. Next slide, please. So I think Allie mentioned earlier, we're in the overall top 12% of places to work in the federal government. Every year, the federal government puts out the Federal Employment Viewpoint Survey, where they collect information from federal employees on the aspects of their job. We are definitely one of the best places to work in the government, and I wanted to share with you some of the reasons why. Next slide. We are in the top categories for our leadership, our innovation, our work-life balance, employee recognition, and more recently in the latest Viewpoint survey, our COVID and employee well-being response. Next slide, please. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about our occupations. As Allie mentioned earlier, we have economists, mathematical statisticians, data scientists, IT specialists, program analysts, and budget analysts, just to name a few. Next slide, please. Next slide. So our economists, as mentioned, that is one of our largest occupations in the Bureau, although it's not our only. And just a little bit about what an economist does in the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They do cleaning, transforming, and validating of data. They test the data, they analyze anomalies, they communicate the significance of their analysis and the implications to our management and to our customers, and they look to improve our processes for better data collection and analysis, as well as additional projects as needed. Next slide, please. A typical day for an economist at the Bureau varies for each department, each survey that they're working on. We do have several different programs, some of those surveys that Ali mentioned earlier, but it's a lot of production work, a lot of research, developing testing, statistical writing, and then a lot of working, like we said before, individually and in teams across the organization. It'll depend on your job and what program you're working on, how much time you spend on each one of these areas. Next slide, please. So for an economist, there are some qualifications required to apply for our position. You'll see here on the screen what they are for the GS7 and the GS9. It is important to note that you do have to have 21 semester hours in economics and 3 hours in accounting, statistics, or calculus. Next slide, please.
And so next we'll talk a little bit about our mathematical statistician positions, which is a little hard to say. So there's many different responsibilities for that math stat role. Some of these include statistical support for one or more surveys or products of BLS, the development and implementation of sample designs through research, data analysis, and computer programming, the research and development of techniques in a variety of different categories, which are all very specific to that math stat role. You might also be involved in the development of requirements for statistical reports and other systems, and even testing computer systems to ensure that they meet specific requirements. Next slide, please. So a typical day in the math stat role might include working on things like production activities, statistical research, systems development and testing, statistical writing, and you can definitely bet you'd be working either individually or a combination of working with your teammates and groups on different projects. And we do want you to keep in mind, these types of duties will always vary depending on the office, or also the amount of time that you spend on each activity will also vary, even within the divisions of a given office. Next slide, please. And so in order to qualify for a math stat position, you will need a bachelor's degree with 24 semester hours in math and/or stats, 12 or more credit hours at or above the calculus level, and also 6 hours or more specifically in statistics. And for that GS7 role specifically, a cumulative GPA is needed of 2.95 or higher. There's also the option of a GPA of 3.45 or higher, specifically in your major field of study. And then for the GS9, a master's degree is required, or that can be subbed with a combination of experience and education. Next slide.
Okay, for the data scientist. So this is a fairly recent field that OPM has classified for the federal government. And while the work has been done under different titles, we are hiring data scientists in the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So their typical responsibilities of a data scientist, it's pretty multifaceted. It requires a lot of interdisciplinary skills. They often are managing the end-to-end data processes, the data lifecycle, using knowledge of business needs, knowledge of domains, analytical skills, and software and systems engineering. You can see here on the screen that this was established in December 2021, this new series, job series. Next slide. So a typical day of the data scientist, although it is new, we do have a little bit of information to share what a day in a data scientist looks like. Often they are developing and implementing a set of techniques or analytic applications to take that raw data that's collected in the field and turn it into meaningful information using data-oriented programming, languages, and visualization software. They'll apply, data mining, data modeling, natural language processing, and machine learning to take information from that data and analyze it from a large structured and unstructured data sets. They'll also, using that visualization software, visualize, interpret, and report data findings and create some reports for our users or end users. Next slide, please. So similarly to the other slides we've shown about the qualifications, a bachelor's degree in mathematics, statistics, computer science, data science, or a field directly related to the position is required. The degree must be in a major field of study, and at least the bachelor's level. And then you can see below again for the GS7 and the GS9. GS7, the cumulative GPA of 2.95 or higher, or a 3.45 in the major field of study. And then GS9, a master's degree or a combination of experience and education. Next slide, please.
And then we also have career paths within the IT specialist role. So typical responsibilities for IT specialist positions include things like software development, server or database administration, network administration, cybersecurity, computer and information assurance, systems documentation, requirements, and procedures. Next slide. So we'll focus on a typical day of 2 positions. So to start us off, software developer. A typical day in the life of this position might include daily meetings with developer teams and teammates or product owners to plan and prioritize work. You might be analyzing, designing, coding, testing, and further development of document software. You might be participating in peer reviews of codes, or running and monitoring production systems. Of course, collaborating with teammates and other users, and maybe even researching or doing other training activities. Next slide. And a typical day in the life of a data and network information assurance role. That might include things like evaluating, recommending, or deploying new products or upgrades, participating in peer reviews of infrastructure designs, monitoring infrastructure performance, assisting end users to resolve any and all computer issues, again, collaborating with teammates, of course, maybe other software developers and users, and the main responsibility, ensuring security, availability, and reliability of the entire network infrastructure. Next slide. And so, similar themes here in terms of requirements for the IT specialist position. You need that bachelor's degree with 21 semester hours in topics such as computer science or database management. For that GS7 position, again, cumulative GPA of 2.95 or higher, or a GPA in the major field of study of 3.45 or higher. GS9, again, that master's degree or a combination of experience and education. Next slide. Sorry, Kimberly, I think you're still on mute.
Oh, thank you. So now we're going to talk about the program analyst role, kind of what Allie and I do in our roles and the responsibilities of those positions in the Bureau. So we have program analysts across the board, but majorly in the Office of Administration, which is a support office within the Bureau that supports the program offices that do the data. Program analysts provide key support. We might be looking at data confidentiality, policy type areas, security and privacy. We might be doing emergency response planning. We do have people on site who do building facility maintenance and coordination. We have people who do property and records management and telecommunications. Next slide. Here's some examples of some of the projects that our program analysts get involved in across the Bureau. Coordinating the BLS emergency response to events such as COVID-19, serving as liaisons to external auditors, such as the Office of the Inspector General. Allie and I serve as liaisons to the Office of Human Resources, working with our colleagues and across our agency and the department. Serving as liaisons to the General Service Administration and advocating for BLS customer needs. Doing cost-benefit analysis on contracts and equipment to maximize our use of resources. Doing training for BLS employees and tracking breaches involving sensitive government information. And those are just a few examples of some of the things that our program analysts do. Next slide. So I'm going to talk about the budget analyst responsibilities. We do have a budget office that works on our annual budget, about $700 million. They develop the president's annual budget request to Congress, or input to that, I should say. They allocate funds for day-to-day operations across the nation, and they track the performance of our IT investments and input to data-driven decisions for agency leadership. They've been very busy these last few months. Next slide, please. So some project examples for budget analysts. Again, talked a little bit about they manage our budget, but they also manage our agreements with other government agencies, such as the Social Security Administration. We have an agreement with them to produce data on occupational requirements. They create narrative and analytical materials for the BLS and departmental leadership for meetings with the White House and Congress. And they track reporting performance to the Commissioner and our Deputy Secretary for the Department of Labor. So just as a note, you don't have to be a finance guru to be a budget analyst at BLS. We do have people on our team that come from a variety of backgrounds and academic degrees. We have anthropologists, we have history majors. It does not require a financial degree or background. Next slide, please. So a little bit more about both our program and budget analysts. We do, like I said, hire from a broad range of backgrounds and experiences. And while we do have people specialized in business and economics, like I said, we have archaeologists, scientists, English majors, art majors. We look for people who have the qualities that make them unique and an ability to do the work. Next slide, please. Overall, we're looking for people who have strong analytical skills, ability to do research and produce solutions to a wide range of problems. We are really truly problem solvers. We look for well-developed communication skills, both orally and in writing, and on overall, mostly a commitment to customer service. We are a customer-focused organization, both externally and internally, and most of our program analysts are really working with internal customers, and we're very proud to support the rest of the Bureau in our advancement of labor economic data. Next slide, please.
And so thinking a little bit about the process of applying to our jobs, for all BLS vacancies, you must apply through usajobs.gov. So we encourage you all, if you have not already, create an account on usajobs.gov. And once you do, you can monitor USA Jobs for BLS vacancies by saving a search with the keyword Bureau of Labor Statistics. And then you can subscribe for email updates. That way you can get an alert whenever new vacancies are posted. And then, of course, please apply to any jobs that you see come up that you're interested in. And if you have any questions throughout this process, please contact bwm@bls.gov, not to be confused with the well-known vehicle. Our email address is bwm@bls.gov. If you have questions specifically about a job field like econ or IT, we'll work with our subject matter experts to make sure we get you the best answers. And if we go to the next slide, I think that will conclude our presentation for today. Thank you all for participating and giving us your attention this afternoon. We'll happily take any questions at this time.
So we have a hand raised.
I'm
Jean?
sorry, can't see.
I think I unmuted or asked. There you go. Go ahead, Jean.
Hi, good afternoon. I actually already asked my question in the chat. So I'm a military spouse. Me and my wife recently moved to the DMV area due to her receiving orders to move here. I'm also a reservist. I'm stationed out of Andrews. And I've been applying, looking for positions such as budget analyst. I currently work for the IRS as a revenue officer. However, I'm stationed at our previous state that we lived in. So I'm going to be resigning soon because we're due back to the office. So I was just wanting to know if there are any positions that are open for military spouses in my position that would be a little bit quicker to get to or anything like that.
So we don't currently have a budget analyst position open, announcement open. And I think we unfortunately just closed a program analyst announcement, although I do think there is one open until tomorrow at the GS13 level. So, I mean, I think just the key is to track our announcements by signing up that search in USA Jobs. And as soon as you see something, apply for it. We do often do merit staffing, so we hire from within the government as well as from outside the government. We usually have a mix of both types of announcements. So as a current Fed, I mean, definitely look for those ones that are open just to the federal government.
Actually, the link that you sent had both positions open. I've actually applied for both position budget analyst as well as for contract specialist.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you.
I'm looking to see. I think Gary answered the one question in the chat. Any other questions?
I don't see any other hands at the moment.
And again, we are almost always hiring for something at BLS. So I do strongly encourage to go into USA Jobs. If you've been to the session earlier in the day about how to use USA Jobs, set up your account, create resumes, do tailor your resume to the specific job, but you can have some templates in your account and then create that search for BLS positions. And you can, it'll email you regularly whenever something opens. I also encourage people to apply early. Technology is great when it works, and you don't want to wait till the last minute of a vacancy announcement opening to apply. It does shut down at 11:59 the day it closes, and there are unfortunately no do-overs. Any questions from chat? Okay.
We'll be on for a few more minutes if folks have questions that kind of pop up later on as you're thinking about things. But we appreciate everyone listening, tuning in, and yeah, if something comes up, we will keep an eye on the chat for a few more minutes into the next session.
Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you all to the Department of Labor, Employment and Training Administration Military Spouse Association Career Expo. My name is Linda Mitchell, and I'm with ETA. Most often referred, I'm with Employment and Training Administration, most often referred to as ETA, which I will reference throughout this presentation. I will also be co-presenting with my supervisor, Val Cummins. And I'm sure most of you all have noticed that he has been putting in our vacancies into the chat. Hopefully there's something that each of you would be interested in. And on the next slide, we will talk about what you have to, we will go over today. For 15 to 20 minutes, we will provide an overview of ETA, answer any questions regarding the application process, and discuss any ETA positions that you might be interested in applying to. On the next slide, we will talk about, did I miss one? Okay, the next slide, this is the Department of Labor's organizational chart. The organizational chart identifies in the red box ETA's position within the organization. Next slide. This is the ETA organizational chart. ETA is led by an assistant secretary, 3 deputy assistant secretaries, and a number of higher level senior executives. ETA has more than 1,200 employees and 17 program areas. And I'm sure you're wondering what it is that we do. On the next slide, we'll talk about ETA's mission. The mission of the Employment and Training Administration is to contribute to the more efficient functioning of the U.S. labor market by providing high-quality job training, employment, labor market information, and income maintenance services, primarily through state and local workforce development systems. The next slide, we will talk about the mission areas that support ETA's mission. As you can see, there's a list of them, all of our program areas. And we have 5 regions within ETA. I'd like to take a moment to discuss at least 3 of our mission areas. The first I'd like to talk about is the Office of Apprenticeship. The Office of Apprenticeship promotes and oversees quality, accessible apprenticeship opportunities for workers seeking higher skilled, higher paying jobs, and engages employers seeking to build a qualified, diverse, and inclusive workforce. The next office I'd like to talk about is the Office of Job Corps. Job Corps' mission is to connect eligible youth with the labor force. They do this by providing comprehensive and integrated academic and career technical skills, training, workforce preparation, and support services that help lead youth to successful careers and opportunities for advancement. And the last office I'd like to discuss is the Office of Unemployment Insurance. The Office of Unemployment Insurance is responsible for oversight of the federal and state unemployment insurance and related income support programs. On the next slide is the most commonly advertised vacant positions within ETA. I'd like to take a moment and discuss one of our vacancies for the apprentice and training representative. The specialized experience that would be desired for this position would be that the candidate be able to apply functions, techniques, and practices involved in occupational training programs. For example, technical training, curriculum development, mentoring, and career development. And another desired experience to have would be identifying workforce and training programs, analyzing problems and recommending solutions. Examples of that would be pre-apprenticeship, apprenticeship, internship, and externship. On the next slide, we have provided for you the link to our USA Jobs page. And also for the smartphone users, we have provided the QR code for your use. And on the next slide, this is the ETA's USA Jobs page with a couple of filters that have been applied. We've applied the military spouse filter as well as open to the public. This will display all of the jobs that are currently available for military spouses to apply to. Next slide, please. I'm sure that most of you attended the early morning session, and OPM probably reviewed these things to know when you apply for a position and the things that you would need. You would always want to have your documents that you want to upload that are required for the vacancy, your resume. You want to be able to have your specialized experience already outlined in your resume, and this information can also be found on the job announcement. And also just be prepared, there'll probably be more than likely an assessment associated with your application. And always remember, do not wait until the last minute to apply for a position because technical issues may occur during that time. And we don't want it to be 11:59 when that happens. So always apply as soon as possible. And also ensure that your resume and specialized experience fits or align with the position that you're applying for. Next slide, please. So provided for your use is the ETA's contact information, where we would be able to assist you with searching for jobs and helping you with applying to or searching for any opportunities within ETA that you might be interested in. And always remember never to upload any documents such as a DD-214 or disability letter to your application or send to, to our mailbox. And our mailbox is listed here. And you all will be provided this information after our briefing. And the next slide, please, is the contact information for Department of Labor's. Next slide, please. Is the Department of Labor's contact information, and they will provide the same services as I've described that we can provide for you. But they have a larger scope that they would even go as far as having all of the DOL positions available. And here's their contact information. And again, do not send any documents with your inquiries, DD-214, disability letters, or anything of that nature. And next slide, please. That is all that I have at this time. And as I stated earlier, my supervisor, Val Cummings, is on here and will be answering any questions that you all may have. And also he has provided the links to all of our vacant positions. Feel free to review them and apply to anything that might be of interest to you. And again, I'd just like to thank you all for attending and thank you for your time and attention. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, Linda. That was very insightful and we appreciate it. As Linda said, my name is Val Cummings. I am the Director of the Human Capital Services for Employment and Training Administration. I just want to highlight that the majority of our positions do not require college degrees. We do have some positions that require positive education requirements, like the accountant positions, which means you have to have a degree or 24 hours in a very specific area. So as Linda mentioned, when you're developing your resumes or applying for jobs, you want to make sure that you highlight your experience. And one of the key things that most qualified people are found unqualified is that they do not put the time that they've served in that position. So you want to put the start date and the end date, or the start date to present, because typically it takes about 52 weeks to be considered fully qualified. And if you are doing a job and we can't determine, the HR specialist can't determine how long you've done that job, you're probably the most qualified person that won't be found qualified. And it has nothing to do with your qualifications. It has to do with the administrative processes that go in to determine it. One of the things that we're also excited about, especially the Department of Labor, is our diversity, equity, inclusion and accessibility. DOL is open to hiring all employees. It doesn't matter your race, national origin, ethnic makeup, sexual preference. We are an equal opportunity employer, and we encourage all individuals to apply for our positions. And one of the things that I love about the Department of Labor, especially ETA, and I know a lot of my colleagues across the other presentations, is the work-life balance. We try to meet our employees where they are and ensure that they can balance their home life and their work life. And with COVID, we've moved to a hybrid type work environment. So employees, candidates that are hired are encouraged to speak with their supervisors about work schedules, flexibilities, and benefits that come with being a federal employee. So with that said, I'm going to pause, and we're going to stay on. And if there are any questions, we're more than happy to answer them. I posted about 17 different positions in the chat, and these are typical positions that you will find in ETA. At any given time, we are advertising between 20 to 25 positions. Last year, we filled over, I believe it was close to 250 positions. So we're actively hiring and we're actively recruiting. So we encourage you to apply to any of our positions. And again, we'll make sure that our personal recruitment mailbox is available to you, and you can feel free to reach out to us at any time. So with that said, I will pause and see if there are any questions in the chat that we can answer. So I don't see any questions in the chat or any hands raised, but again, we're available. Our email address, we will put that in the chat, and you can reach out to us with any questions. And again, we thank you for your time, and it's been our pleasure.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Darren Foster, and I am representing the Office of Workers' Compensation Programs, or OWCP. You're going to hear from me and a couple of my colleagues in other divisions. I am going to talk to you about the Division of Coal Mine Workers' Compensation today. If I can have the next slide, please. The mission of the Division of the Coal Mine Workers' Compensation is to adjudicate the claims of coal miners who have been diagnosed with pneumoconiosis. Another term for that we use is black lung. We have claims examiners who are responsible for investigating these claims to determine the length of the condition and the nature of the coal miner's employment in coal mines, and to determine whether the coal miner has evidence of coal mine dust-related lung disease. After all relevant employment and medical evidence has been obtained, claims examiners analyze that evidence and issue a decision to approve or deny the claim. It is important that the decision is written by the claims examiner, state the facts, analyze the evidence, and draw clear conclusions, referencing the relevant statutory and regulatory laws. It is also the claims examiner's responsibility to perform other ancillary duties related to the maintenance of approved claims. Claims examiners must manage a variety of competing priorities in a timely manner, create relationships with internal and external stakeholders, such as supervisors, other claims examiners, claimants, medical providers, attorneys, and partner agencies. Next slide, please. The Division of Coal Mine Workers' Compensation, or DCMWC, is made up of a national office, field offices, and our main primary employees are workers' compensation claims examiners. Our national office has two branches, the branch of fiscal operations and technical support, and the branch of policy, analysis, and program standards. We have field offices in Denver, Colorado, Columbus, Ohio, in which I am the district director, Greensburg, Pennsylvania, Johnstown, Pennsylvania, Charleston, West Virginia, Parkersburg, West Virginia, and Pikesville, Kentucky. Our workers' compensation claims examiner is the primary position that we hire for and we select when we have positions available throughout the year. We expect to have more openings throughout this coming year, and to apply for these positions, you can utilize usajobs.gov. These positions may be eligible for 100% telework or what we call remote work. OWCP has taken the stance of accepting remote work, so the majority of us are remote workers. There are employees who go into the offices, various offices, 1 day a week or 2 days a week or so, but that's basically by their choice. I'm gonna have the next slide, please. A day in the life of a claim examiner. So we've asked a few claims examiners to just tell us exactly what they do during the day so you can get an idea, to give you an idea of how their day works. So what they do is they complete a thorough review to determine what work is needed for the day. We have several different measures that we have to complete annually. We have what's called PDOs, which is preliminary decision orders. We have SSAE, supplemental statements of accepted evidence, so on and so forth. None of these terms mean anything to you right now. So what they do, they log into their computer, they review their emails to see if they have any priorities from their supervisors or above. They check the claim assignment system to see if there are any new claims assigned that need initial development actions taken. They review mail, which includes earnings records to help determine coal miner employment, dates and time of and length of employment, medical examination results to determine the existence of the coal mine dust-related lung disease, information requests from attorneys and or advocates related to claims. They check reminders to see what actions are due that day. So they may have 3 months ago set a reminder to contact a doctor for an exam that he should have completed a while back. So they check their reminders. They check messages and return phone calls. We do receive phone calls from the public. We have a national call queue where claimants can call in and get the status of their claim. They can add dependents if necessary. They can report the death of the dependents or the minors, so on and so forth. So, checking messages and returning phone calls is a very important aspect of the position. Then they execute. They complete the initial development actions on new claims, take action on the mail items that were received by paying for the medical examination if it was completed properly, following up for additional information if records received were incomplete or inaccurate, take the next action on the claim if the records received allow for a preliminary or a final decision, take all follow-up actions that are necessary. So this can entail a lot of actions on one particular case. Depending on the day, the claim examiner might attend the training session, mentor a lesser experienced claims examiner on a difficult task, or have an individual meeting with his or her supervisor to discuss performance, any particular issues the claims examiner might be experiencing, and establishing goals for short or long-term future goals.
I didn't understand that.
Throughout the day, the claims examiner might chat with or check in with their colleagues and respective supervisor about individual issues that arise during the course of their work. Maybe they have an issue that they haven't seen before. When you work in the claims process, sometimes you can have a particular issue that you may see today that you won't see again for 6 months or a year. And then by the time you see it again, you've kind of forgot how to do it. So you want to check with your colleagues just to make sure that you're doing it right. Next slide, please. One of the claims examiners gave us this personal testimony regarding their job. Personally, I've enjoyed the stability and benefits that a federal career have to offer. Holidays, flexible schedules, paid time off, health benefits, retirement. And in terms of personal satisfaction doing my job, I have found working directly with the injured workers to be rewarding. You can see that they are hurt or sick and help them navigate the federal workers' compensation process to obtain whatever benefits they may be eligible for. Even if the worker does not turn out to be eligible to receive benefits, you have the power to help them understand the process and the reasoning for the decision. Often these workers are sick and elderly and need help understanding the process. Ultimately, although it's my responsibility to make an appropriate legal decision, the human connection in adjudicating the claim and communicating with the claimants created respect and trust, no matter the outcome. As for my thoughts, I find the below fulfilling about my job: researching and applying federal Black lung regulations to real life situations, independently making decisions based on evidence at hand, writing decisions tailored to the audience we serve, claimants, employers, medical providers, etc., mentoring and training staff, innovating and creating strategic systems to reach operational goals. I find the unique liability piece that we deal with in Black lung to be extremely challenging, but invigorating for me. The work we do requires so much thought and detail, which I really enjoy. Next slide, please. So that was the some testimony and so much from the Division of Coal Mine Workers Compensation, or DCMWC. I'm going to turn over now to Kelly Allen, who's a claims specialist in the Denver District Office of the Division of Energy Employees Occupational Illness Compensation Program. Kelly, are you ready?
I'm ready. Good afternoon, everybody. Again, my name is Kelly Allen. I'm a claims examiner specialist at the Denver District Office with the Department of Labor, the Division of Energy Employees Occupational Illness Compensation Program, also known as DOIC. Next slide, please. I'm going to be discussing our program information, the different career options we have in our program, some up and coming vacancies, benefits of working for the program, how to apply for a job, and the resume, references, and preparing for interview process. Next slide. The Energy Employees Occupational Illness Compensation Program Act, also known as YOICPA, was enacted in October of 2000. The YOICPA consists of two parts, Part B and Part E. Part B became effective on July 31st of 2001, and it compensates current or former employees or their survivors of the Department of Energy and certain contractors and subcontractors who were diagnosed with radiogenic cancer, chronic silicosis, chronic beryllium disease, or beryllium sensitivity as a result of exposure to radiation, beryllium, or silica while employed at any of the covered facilities. Next slide. Part E became effective October 28th of 2004, and this provides various compensation amounts to Department of Energy contractor or subcontractor employees or their survivors when it is shown that it is at least as likely as not that exposure to toxic substances at a covered facility while employed was a significant factor in aggravating, contributing to, or causing the employee's illness or death. Next slide. We are hiring, and we have several different vacancies weekly that come out. So we encourage you to apply. Next slide. The different types of careers in our program consists of claims assistants, which they input claims when they come in. Workers' compensation claims examiner, they adjudicate the claim from beginning to end. Program analyst, they deal with the procedures of our program. Fiscal operations, deal with all our payment. Administrative support provides assistance with any other issues. Next slide, please. Our most common up and coming vacancies are the claims assistants. And again, they input the claims when they come in. They also assist the claims examiners with different development processes that need to be done. Another one of our up and coming vacancies is the workers' compensation claims examiner. And these people deal with the development of the claims that are received in the office. They have immediate contact with the public and the survivors. Next slide, please. When applying for jobs in our program, it's helpful if you have a degree in the science field, legal field, public administration, or health science majors. It's also helpful if you have competencies to include decision-making skills, customer service skills. If you're a self-starter, you have self-management, good written communication, and flexibility. And then it's good to have experience when applying if you have knowledge of medical terms, communicating skills with customers and public, experience with evaluating documentation, good business writing skills, and computer skills. Next slide, please. The benefits of working for our program is that we are 100% telework, which means we work at home 100% of the time. We have flexible work schedules. We earn vacation and sick time. We have a retirement savings, and we have medical benefits. Next slide, please. If you're wondering how to apply for a job, our jobs are posted on the USA Jobs website. So you can check that out for any vacancies. And then you can also utilize various hiring authorities. Next slide. When applying for a job, you'll have to submit a resume, and it's best to prepare for the interview by doing further research of our program, which you can just go to our website and there's a wealth of knowledge there about our program. You'll have the interview, we'll get references, and then we'll make the job offer. Next slide. In summary, come join our program. There's many avenues of advancement. There's several different career options, flexible work-life balance, and a wide range of benefits. Next slide. Thank you for your attention. On the screen is the website for our program, as well as the website for USA Jobs. Next slide.
All right. Thank you so much, Kelly Allen. Can everybody hear me? Okay. So hold on. Yeah, everybody should be able to see me. My name is Zev Sapir, and I am the Deputy Administrator of Field Operations for the FICA Longshore and Harbor Workers Compensation Program. And I am excited to be with you all today to share the work that we do and the opportunities that are available in our program for people to apply. Just a little bit of background. I have been working for the Department of Labor, working primarily with the FICA and Longshore program for 25 years. I started as a claims examiner, and over the years, I've had many opportunities for promotion. And I have to tell you that if you do decide to apply to work with us, whether it's our program or one of the other two programs you just heard about, you will be in great company. We are a very dedicated, very smart, very amiable group of people to work with, dedicated to helping people get through difficult times in their lives. Next slide, please. So the Federal Employees Compensation Act, which is one of the main programs that I work with, is more than 100 years old, and it provides benefits for people who are federal civilian employees who are injured on the job or who suffer work-related exposure that results in disability or some kind of medical condition, and very rarely, but sometimes death. We adjudicate claims for injuries. We adjudicate compensation claims. We take care of people's medical needs. We also do something called a schedule award, which is an award for permanent impairment. We work closely with all of the federal agencies that employ these claimants of ours. Next slide. Right now, the kinds of jobs that are primarily available in our program are the workers' compensation claims examiner position. We just recently onboarded 111 new claims examiners. We have medical benefit claims examiners, which is a subset. And we recently posted, and it's still an open vacancy for the medical treatment adjudicator position. And these are positions where individuals will be working closely with our central medical bill pay and authorization unit to ensure that our claimants get the medical care they need. Next slide. Our program, as I mentioned, we are concerned with workplace injuries and illness. We are involved, aside from primarily involved with ensuring medical treatment for claimants and wage loss benefits. We also provide voc rehab benefits and survivor benefits. Next slide. And this is important to know, especially when applying for the job in the FICA program. And especially if you're looking at certain accepted appointments, such as the one for veteran spouses, is that we obviously, experience helps, but experience is not a requirement. The competencies are something we're going to be looking for. We're going to ask the HR specialist to look for in the resumes, and those are very similar to the ones you've already heard. But in terms of experience, yes, it's great if we can get somebody who's got an insurance background, somebody who has background in customer service, but we don't necessarily need those. As long as we have the competencies, we can we can develop the rest. We can definitely work with people, and we'll talk a little bit later about training. Make sure that you are fully brought up to speed on medical terms, fully brought up to speed on the computer applications that we use. Next slide. So our training program, and this is important. And when I started in the program, I had no background in insurance. I had no background in medical terminology. And there really is no expectations that employees know the statutes, know the regulations or the procedures, know anything about medical training. That is all provided. That's part of our very comprehensive. We have now what is essentially, it's an evolving process, but right now it's an 18-week training program that has both classroom and online training, as well as immersive experience, which includes practice casework and just a wealth of resource materials that you'll have access to. So if you're coming in completely cold, but you have the competencies, you have an analytical bent, you have the ability to write well and to speak with others, this could be the right path for you. Next slide. And very similar to what you've heard from the others, OWCP in general and our program as a whole as well, we're 100% remote. We just the last 111 people we onboarded were all remote. So you can live anywhere in the country and work for us as long as you have internet connectivity. And we have the same flexibilities that every Department of Labor employee is afforded. During the training, you do have a very fixed schedule. I will say that up front, so don't be surprised. That's because there's classroom and so forth. But after that, once that's done, you can work with your supervisor on any flexibilities that fit your work-life balance. And the job is very autonomous. If you like being in charge of your claims work, your caseload, and you like a fast-paced environment and promotion opportunities, I'm the poster child for that. I started as a GS7 and I made my way through the ranks, and the opportunity is available to everybody. So I really think if you're interested in this kind of work, you cannot find a better home than OWCP.
Dev, did we lose you?
Next slide. I'm here. I can hear you. All right.
Okay.
In conclusion, consider a career in the government. Thank you so much, everybody. And I'm looking forward to your questions.
Zev, can you see the question in the chat box? If not, I can read it to you. Zev, do you need me to read the question to you?
So I answered the question in the chat. I
Okay,
did see the
great.
question.
Thank you.
And so that we don't currently have, we're kind of in between postings for the claims examiner position in our program, in the FICA Longshore. As the other two presenters indicated, they do have some openings as well. And one of the things I would recommend is if you are interested specifically in becoming a claims examiner, check back regularly, because our hiring has been for the last almost 2 years now incredibly fluid. Last year we onboarded 170 employees. This year we onboarded so far 100, 110, 111, and we're hiring another 50 people in the medical benefit authorization group, and then after that we're going to be backfilling for the attrition that we've had. So we anticipate much more hiring in the months ahead.
Gary, I think you're one of the last folks from Department of Labor that is still on, and I believe Miss Kelly is a guest. Oh no, she is from DOL. So we can go ahead and stop the recording if that's okay with everybody. And thank you guys.
That works for me.
And that'll go to the cloud. You want to, are you sure you want to stop? Run to the cloud.